Saw game. I mean, everybody will look and see kind of 8 sacks. But how do you think you guys played up front?
Well, anytime you give up 8 sacks, and sacks, like any phase of the game, aren't always directly related to the offensive line. But if you have 8 of them, you got to have a pretty good idea that the offensive line didn't protect the quarterback real well. So it was interesting because there were times when we protected really well. And then what was different about this game is when we got beat, we really got beat bad. We got flat smoked a few times. And a couple guys got exposed a little bit. And, hopefully that will be a good thing that they'll learn from. And, I think there were a couple guys that felt really bad about it after the game, as they should. And we've been working on it since then. So we'll continue to work and get better.
You anticipate the same starting lineup?
I think so. We've got a number of guys that are still working. As I said last week, Philip, we're going to continue pushing, and I'm still rotating guys in with the first group for 2 reasons. One, I want that feel of competition in practice, and the positive thing is they know that I'll switch a lineup now. But also just for rotation, when your numbers get thin a little bit, you start moving guys around to different spots, just so you can be in position to get your best 5 on the field.
Gene said that Christian wasn't going to address out Saturday, so where does that kind of leave you for depth at guard?
Well, certainly anytime you lose anybody, especially a guy that's in the mix like he is, it thins you out a little bit. But we've got other guys that have just about everybody, other than Pat and Avery, everybody else has worked some at guard. So we got bodies.
What were Pat's struggles? I mean, it looked like he got beat a couple times, but how is he progressing from one start to the next?
Well, with him, it was just a typical thing of being a freshman, and sometimes you don't really get exposed in one game for whatever reason, and in another game you might. It might be something that he did, but sometimes it can have something to do with the opponent, and I think he was just put in situations that exposed him and his technique a little bit. So he's a young guy that's got to learn how to play with his technique all the time. With him, it never has anything to do with his effort or desire. And I assure you, it bothered him a lot. And he's making progress, but as with any true freshman, he's still a work in progress.
Is that you don't want it to happen this way, but these guys that come in here, most of them could just push people around in high school. Is a game like that, is that an awakening for a kid like him that says, hey, you got to play with technique at this level if you're going to be successful?
Yeah, I think it's another step in the maturation process, because their first introduction to that happens in practice at some point. And then they kind of learn how to play in practice, and then sometimes they realize a game's a different thing. And, every time when you're in practice, you're playing the same guys, so you kind of know what to expect. When you get into a game, every Saturday's a new adventure.
What do you see at Ole Miss's defensive front especially?
Active, explosive. I think their defensive coaches are doing a phenomenal job. They really are. They look like a completely different group than they have the last 2 years. They're fast, play with great motor. They look like they're playing with confidence. And so I think they've got some guys that will definitely pose some problems for us, and it'll be a significant challenge, especially playing at their place.
They don't have the same size that other lines have had.
No, they don't, but size is only one part of the equation. And I think sometimes too much is made of size, especially in the defensive line. In the offensive line, it's hard to play if you're not close to 300 pounds. In the defensive line, that's not the case because there are so many other things that make a guy a player. Their nose guard, for instance, only about 260 pounds, I think, but he might be the best or one of the best that we've seen to this point, for sure, because he's explosive and he's strong and he plays hard and he's quick off the ball. He's got a great first step. So they're not as big, but they look as strong and explosive as just about anybody we've seen in places.